Alright, welcome. In this video, I'm going to be working Algebra Quiz 8.2, which is about solving equations that have radicals in them. I'm going to start with form A, and we're just going to find the values of x that make the equations true. We're going to show the work that leads to our answers, and we're going to remember that if we square both sides of an equation or take both sides of an equation to a fourth power, we're going to need to check our answer for possible extraneous solutions. So first, I'm going to work to isolate this radical. So I'm going to say 4 square root of x plus 2 is going to be equal to 8 after I add 5 to both sides of that first equation. Then I'm going to divide both sides of the second equation by 4. And then I'm going to square both sides. So that means I'll need to check my answer, and I'll subtract 2, and I'll get x equals 2. Okay, so to check, I'm going to say, all right, is 4 times the square root of 2 plus 2 minus 5 equal to 3? 4 times 2 is 8, minus 5 is 3. Yes, okay, I've got a valid solution. This next one, I'm not going to need to worry about checking my answer because I'm cubing both sides of this equation, so that's not going to possibly incur extraneous solutions. So I cube both sides. Okay, I've got varying powers of x, so I'm going to have to set this equal to 0 and hope to be able to solve. Solve by factoring. And yeah, this is going to be something I can factor, so I can factor out the greatest common factor, and then just kind of keep going. Okay, I can think of two numbers that multiply to -2 and add to -1. That would be -2 and +1. And then I can say, all right, that's going to give me x equals 0, x equals 2, or potentially x equals -1. And that'll be 3 solutions to that equation. Alright, next we've got a radical equals radical type equation. So we're just going to start by squaring both sides, 3x minus 8, but that does mean I will need to remember to check my answer. That's going to equal x plus 5. I'm going to subtract an x from both sides, maybe add an 8, divide by 2, get myself an answer. I'm going to check this because I squared both sides. So 13 halves times 3 is going to be 39 halves. So I might just go ahead and say, okay, that's going to be 19.5. And I go into the decimal realm. Minus 8. Is that going to equal the square root of 13 halves is 6.5 plus 5 is 11.5? I like that. Okay, yes, that's true. Okay, so I have a valid solution. But, decimal realm not completely useless. Just not always the best way to style our answers. But in situations like this, could be really helpful. So the next one, I think I'm going to try to isolate the parentheses with 4/3 and then take both sides to the 3/4 power. That's my plan. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'll get 2x plus 1 to the 4/3 power. That's equal to 16. Then I'm going to need to take both sides of this equation to the 3/4 power. Now, because I'm taking both sides to the 3rd power in that 3/4, I don't need to worry about checking my answer. But the 3/4, that's like taking the 4th root of both sides. I do need a plus minus there. Okay, and so I'm going to say, all right, 2x plus 1 is plus or minus 16 to the 3/4. Off to the side, I might do a little bit of analysis. 16 to the 3/4 is the 4th root of 16 cubed, so it's going to be 2 cubed, and that's 8. So I've got 2x plus 1 is plus or minus 8. So I'm going to subtract 1, divide by 2. So I'm going to divide both of these things by 2. Okay, so I've got -1/2 plus 4 is 3.5. X equals -1/2 minus 4 would be -4.5. And those will be my solutions. And you can check those if you like, but that's just going to end up giving you 16 to the 4/3 and -16 to the 4/3. Yeah. No, 8 to the, pardon me, 8 to the 4/3 and negative 8 to the 4/3. That makes more sense. If you make that x equals negative 9 halves like it was supposed to be, yeah, then it makes total sense. Alright, the next two are just more equations for us to solve, so I'm going to start by, on number 5, squaring both sides, so I'm going to have to check my answer, so 4x plus 24 equals 4x squared. Okay, then I'm going to set this equation to 0 because I have more than one power of x visible, so I've got 0 equals 4x squared minus 4x minus 24. I kind of like where this is going because I can factor out that 4. And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can factor this. What's two numbers that multiply to negative 6 and added negative 1? That would be negative 3 and negative 2. Negative 3, positive 2. Yeah. And so then I'll say, okay, x equals 3, or maybe x is negative 2, but I need to check my answer because I just squared both sides of an equation. So if x is equal to 3, I've got 12 plus 24 is the square root of 36 equals 2 times 3. That's true. But if x is negative 2, that's not going to be good. So I'm going to have negative 8 plus 24 is the square root of 16 equals 2. It's negative 4. That's not true. The square root of 16 is positive 4. Okay. Now, negative 4 is a solution to the equation x squared equals 16, but we really said anything about that. So that's why we're saying this is not a solution, because the square root of 16, we take that to mean positive 4. Okay, so that one's out. X equals 3, that's my solution. Okay. 4x to the 2/3 minus 10 equals 26. So we're going to isolate that x to the 2/3. Divide by 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both sides to the 3/2 power. Whoa. And x to the 2/3 to the 3/2, that's just going to be x. And I'm going to have x equals 9 to the 3/2, so that's the square root of 9 cubed, and I'm going to say that's 27. Okay, but hold on a second. I took both sides to the 3/2 power, which meant I took the square root of both sides of the equation, and I did not bring in that plus or minus. Yep. So I'm going to need that. And let me look at this and just make sure that's true. Yeah, because 27 to the 2/3 is going to be 9. But if I took the cube root of negative 27, I'd get negative 3. And if I squared negative 3, I'd still get 9. So 36 minus 10 is equal to 26. Either way, these are both solutions. All right, number 7 and 8, I think I'm going to just isolate the radical. Divide by 2. And cube both sides. Subtract 1. Divide by 2. And get yourself an answer. Okay, all I did on this one was cube both sides of the equation, so I don't need to worry about checking my answer. Okay, so it's going to be negative 4.5, right? So, yeah, I'm taking the cube root of negative 8, and that, yeah, makes the equation true. Okay. This one, I'm going to square both sides of this equation, so I get 2x plus 7, and you just got to be careful with x plus 4 times x plus 4. But if you're just careful here, then and you know how to factor, you should be all right. So I got 2x plus 7 equaling x squared, 8x, and 16. And then I'm going to set this to 0, so hopefully I can factor. But all of the ones we've done so far have been factorable, so hopefully this works out for us. X squared plus 6x plus 9, that factors. That's x plus 3 times x plus 3, and this equation is only going to be equal to 0, or only going to be true when x is equal to negative 3. Now I do need to check my answer to make sure that it's true, right, because I squared both sides of the equation. But if x is equal to negative 3, I've got the square root of 1 equals 1, and yeah, that's true, so it looks good. Okay, and that's gonna be, I think, all for, yeah, that's all for this form of the quiz. Yeah, okay. Laid the quizzes out side by side this time. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be finding the values of x that make the equation true on form B. Okay, yeah, did form A. It was pretty plain. Just a lot of solving. So isolate the radical. Square both sides. You square both sides. Don't forget to check your answer. Wait a second. That's going to be positive 7. And then, okay, 3 times the square root of 9 minus 4 is equal to 5. Yes, that's true. Okay. For here, I'm going to start by cubing both sides of that equation. But cubing both sides does not require us to check our answer. Okay, so I'm going to say 0 equals x to the 3 minus x to the 2 minus 6x. I'm going to factor out that x. I'm going to think of two numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to negative 1, and that will be negative 3 and positive 2. And then I'll be getting, okay, maybe x is 0 from the first factor, maybe x is 3 from the second factor, or possibly x is negative 2 from the third factor. Those will be my 3 solutions. Okay, this one I'm just going to start by squaring both sides, so I will need to check my answer at the end. And this works out real nice. 3x equals 7, x equals 7/3. Okay, so I'm going to check my answer because I can't really do that arithmetic mentally. So 7/3 times 4 would be 28/3 minus 2 would be 6/3. Is that equal to the square root of x plus 5 7/3 plus 15/3? It's 22/3, 22/3, both sides. Yeah, feeling good about it. Okay, I've got myself a valid solution. Okay. Okay, on this one, I'm going to start by taking both sides and dividing them in half. And this is not gonna be, this isn't right. Alright, yeah, that was supposed to say 16, so 2 times 3x plus 1 to the 3 halves equals 16, making 3x plus 1 to the 3 halves equal to 8. And then I'm going to take both sides to the 2/3 power, so 3x plus 1 would equal 8 to the 2/3. Okay, and then 8 to the 2/3 is the cube root of 8 squared, that's 4. And this is going to actually work out, so 3x plus 1 is equal to 4, and 3x equals 3, x is equal to 1. Okay, so now thinking about what I did here, I took both sides to the 2/3 power. So I squared both sides and then took the cube root of both sides. Okay, so I don't need a plus minus, but I do need to check my answer. So x equals 1. 2 times 4 to the 3 halves, yeah, that's 2 times 8 is 16, so that one worked out. On this one, we're going to start by squaring both sides. But if I square 3x, I'll square the 3 and I'll square the x. So I'll set this thing equal to 0. Start factoring. I've got a 9 on everything, so I've got x squared minus x minus 2, and that's something I can factor if I can think of two numbers that multiply to negative 2 while adding to negative 1. I feel that would be negative 2 and positive 1. Okay. And this equation would be true anytime x was equal to 2 or when x was equal to negative 1. But wait a second, I squared both sides of this equation, so I've got doubts about one of these. Yeah, x equals negative 1 is not sounding good. Since I squared both sides of the equation here, I need to check my answer. So checking the answer with x equals 2 is going to be 9 times 2 is 18 plus 18 square root is 36 is equal to 3 times 2 is 6. That's true. x equals -1. That's the square root of 9 equaling -3, and that's not true. The square root of 9 is +3. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that one and emphasize only x equals 2. This one we're going to solve with some fraction exponents, but we're going to isolate that power of x first by starting with subtracting 2. And so we're going to take both sides to the 4/3 power. And off to the side, I'm going to say, all right, that's the third root of 8 taken to the 4th power. It's a little repetitive. I feel bad, but oh well. That's going to be 16, and I get x equals 16. Goodness, what did I do here? I took both sides to the 4/3 power. Okay, no, so that means I took the cube root of both sides and took it to the 4th power. So I do need to check my answer, but 16 to the 3/4 is going to be 8, so I've got... Oh, no, this is an extraneous solution. Okay, so x equals 16, right? It would go and put that back in. Oh, yeah, this one's very tricky. Three times x to the 3/4. Well, 16 to the 3/4 is going to be 8. Plus 2 equals 26. I don't know why I thought that was not going to work out right. Okay, that does work. Okay, we have a solution. Pardon me. Alright, these last two are a little more straightforward, I think. We're going to start by isolating this radical, so 3x plus 2. Alright, I'm going to start by dividing, or subtracting 7. That would be -9. But then I'm going to divide by 3, so I'll end up with -3 over here. Cube both sides. Wait, no, if I'm cubing both sides, that'll get rid of the cube root. And -3 to the 3rd power would be -27. Subtract 2, divide by 3, and I'm going to say, okay, I just cubed both sides of that equation, so that's fine. I don't have to worry about extraneous solutions. X equals -29/3. That's going to be my answer. I'm ready to move on. So on this last one, I think, yeah, that's the last one. I'm going to square both sides at the beginning here. So I'll have 2x plus 9 over here, but I'll have to square x plus 5. So I will say, okay, 2x plus 9 is going to be x squared plus 5x plus 5x plus 25. And then I'm going to set this equal to 0 and hope I'm able to factor. Okay, 25 minus 9 would be 16. This is factorable. And so this is only going to be true when x is -4. Okay, I did square both sides of this equation, so I should check my answer. Okay, is the square root of -8 plus 9 equal to -4 plus 5? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm getting good. That's the correct answer. That's going to be all for this video, right? This was Form B. Yes, all right, that's it. Thanks for watching.